You aware?
Okay, everybody, we're officially streaming, so don't say anything you don't want to be heard saying, okay? Okay, okay, everybody, we are streaming, Mary, so whatever you're talking, everybody in the world is listening to your telephone conversation. Okay, well, we've got a pretty short list here. We pared it down a little bit. And so we're going to start with Senate Bill 9. Let Stacy describe it. Just to remember, this was the hearing from yesterday where, as I pointed out, we had a conference committee report on the floor on Sunday night that passed unanimously in the House and Senate, only to find out that there were some clerical mistakes in there, and this is why this is an emergency corrective bill to clean that up. The House is aligned. The House has the exact same cross file. And with that, I think the House was looking to put one additional amendment on there that we want to put on our front end so as to make this as seamless as possible. But I'll turn it to you, Stacy, to fill in some of the blanks.
Certainly. Senate Bill 9, the Maryland Higher Education Commission Academic Program Approval Revisions. This emergency bill requires private nonprofit institutions of higher education to submit semi-annual letters of intent to the Maryland Higher Education Commission, identifying new graduate-level programs they plan to propose within the next 6 months to 2 years, aligning with the process required of public four-year institutions. The bill also repeals provisions granting 5 specified institutions of higher education exclusive authority to propose emerging workforce needs programs for 90 days, thereby putting all institutions on the same footing. Finally, the bill clarifies the requirements for updates to the state plan for higher education. There is one amendment in your packet that is from the sponsor of the chair here, and as the chair said, these are agreed to amendments by the Senate and the House. And what these amendments would do is clarify that an institution's inclusion of an intended program in this letter of intent does not give that institution a right to first refusal for the program. This is not a formal proposal. This is an intention of what they're working on to give some advance notice to the other institutions that about the programs that are circulating out there. It repeals the requirement that MHEC circulate the letters of intent from all the institutions among the institutions. Instead, MHEC is required to review the received letters of intent to determine if an intended program is similar to an existing program or another intended program, and is authorized to reach out to those affected institutions to provide feedback or encourage collaborations between the institutions. The goal here is to bring some awareness earlier in the process, so instead of filing an objection later on, institutions are aware of what's out there, and maybe they can start talking through some of their differences and start understanding what programs are available at an earlier date.
Okay, questions? Okay, so we do have this amendment. I'll move that amendment. We have a second from Senator Washington. Any questions on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of this amendment that's been agreed to with the House, raise your hand. All opposed? That amendment carries. We have in front of us Senate Bill 9 as amended in front of us. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Favorable motion from the Vice Chair. Is there a second? Senator Washington. Okay, discussion. Favorable motion on the bill as amended. Yes, Senator Watson.
So when it comes to, what did I read? These are private, nonprofit entities that are proposing programs. Is that right?
So this is, in the bill, there became a process called this letter of intent process. So it's earlier than just the program approval where they send the application to MHEC saying, we have a proposed graduate level program we'd like to institute. And then all the other institutions look at it and they say, oh, but this is similar to ours, so they file an objection. This new process was in the bill, and at the time it was placed in the bill, it only applied to public institutions and not the privates like Johns Hopkins or Stevenson University or any of those, or Loyola. So now all of them will also be filing with MHEC a letter of intent But instead of circulating it through everybody, it's just going to go to MHEC. They're going to look at that, provide some feedback, and then if there's some similar programs, they're going to try and get the institutions to talk and collaborate early.
So one question. So an institution like Johns Hopkins, is that a private institution or a private nonprofit institution?
It's a private nonprofit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this came up actually, yes, I think somebody else raised, I think Senator Kagan raised some variation of this question yesterday at the hearing. Senator Carrozza.
I was just looking at the USM favorable in the bill packet, but on the overall sheet, it says it's unfavorable. So was that, I was just trying to clarify what USM's position was.
I'm not sure what you're looking at because mine says favorable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Quite certain they were
Okay,
favorable on
Okay,
this.
so what,
Yeah.
it is what?
Mine says favorable.
Okay, then you clarified it, thanks.
There's another one I think they didn't like, or they weren't sure about.
I don't know. Okay, any additional questions? Again, fundamentally, this is, I would characterize yesterday as a corrective committee. They'll take into account that we unanimously passed a conference committee report. That's most of what this is, with the exception of this one amendment that everybody here voted for last session. Okay, with that said, we had a motion and a favorable on the bill as amended. No further discussion. All in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the bill carries. We're going to next move to Senate Bill 238. Yes?
Before we start another bill, it occurs to me that now that we have closed caption and we are trying to be more accessible as a body, that in addition to raising our hand, I wonder for those who are blind, whether we might also say aye or yes or something so that people who are following along. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Are you
So people
saying-
who
are
are,
you
people
saying-
who are deaf. No, people who are blind, yeah, who can't see.
Okay.
To be maximally, I'm too tired, to be maximally accessible, I wonder if both raising our hands and saying language would make sense. And I'm sorry, I'm too tired to come up with the right.
Okay, but you're not suggesting that we have to do a roll call on every?
No, I'm not suggesting that. That's too time consuming when it's not needed.
Okay.
Just that we,
Just have the chairman say it was unanimous.
yes, or if
Okay.
you just capture that all.
Okay, I think,
I see all hands up.
that might be a good idea. How about we just say, I'll just say, bill passed unanimously,
Yes.
if that's the case, and
Yes.
maybe if there is dissent, I'll say 9-1 with the dissenting vote from X, something like that.
That makes sense.
Would that work? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, April, we're going to turn to Senate Bill 238. That's your
Okay.
portfolio.
Senate Bill 238 is a departmental bill from the Department of Housing and Community Development. This is titled Maryland Housing Rehabilitation Program, Local Rehabilitation Program Administration. This bill expands the entities eligible to administer local rehabilitation programs under the Maryland Housing Rehabilitation Program to include nonprofit sponsors in addition to political subdivisions. There are no amendments.
Okay, questions for April on Senate Bill 238? Okay, is there a motion? Okay, Senator Washington moves favorable, Senator Augustine second. Discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed? The bill, Senate Bill 238, clean, passes unanimously. Next up, Senate Bill 251. Back to you, Stacy.
Senate Bill 251, Maryland Public Ethics Law, Training and Financial Disclosure Requirements Revisions. This departmental bill clarifies that required financial disclosure statements by officials and candidates for office as state officials includes the name and address of any source of compensated employment. The bill removes the requirement that ethics training courses for specified officials and registered lobbyists provided by the State Ethics Commission be at least 2 hours and clarifies that the training courses be given as online training or in-person presentations. There is one amendment in your packet from the sponsor, Senator Augustine, and this amendment specifies which ethics topics must be included in the State Ethics Commission training on the Maryland Public Ethics Law.
Okay, Senator Augustine, do you want to move favorable on your amendment or discuss it or whatever? Yeah.
I'll move favorable on the amendment.
Okay, is there a second? Senator Hester, second. Any discussion about the Augustine amendment any further?
The only thing that
Yeah.
I will say is that in our conversation, we removed the 2 hours, which I thought made sense, but we still can provide some guardrails just around sort of content, and that's what the folks from ethics agreed, and we worked it out, that this would be helpful in that regard. So, thank you.
Thank you for that for full explanation. Okay, all in favor of the Augustine amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that amendment carries unanimously. We now have the bill, Senate Bill 251 as amended in front of us. Is there a motion? Okay, Senator Augustine moves favorable on the bill as amended. Is there a second? Senator Washington seconds. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Senate Bill 251 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, the bill carries unanimously. And with that, that completes our work for the day and for the week. Have a great weekend. Okay? That's it. We're good.